You're no more restricted. Like this
Yeah.
is not my niche. I
And
can
yeah,
explore
yeah,
anything.
exactly. So now since I know I have my fellowship and I can do my own work and I also have some free time, I kind of the liberty to do all the explore all my curiosity in any way possible. So I started talking with her, and in fact I will collaborate with her on some aspects. So yeah, so again, I'm curious about the mechanobiology I'm going to do in my research proposal in Roland. But I'm also curious about all the ecological stuff, and I'm right now I'm going to explore what are the which of these curiosity I can actually pursue in lab and which I can continue
Pursue
outside
outside the
lab.
lab. Yeah. Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Mistine Vlogs, and today we have Purnati Khuntia with us. She is a postdoctoral fellow in Dr. Tamal Das lab in TIFR Hyderabad. Hi Purnati.
Hello, Pratiksha.
Like Purnati, can you introduce yourself to me, like as a researcher, as a student?
I don't know how to do the conventional introduction, but what I'll tell about myself is I really like doing science and how things work in the world, be it living or non-living. So, and I think research is the one path that helps me understand the world. And yeah, it's entirely curiosity driven to see how things work.
So you would think yourself to be a lifelong student,
Forever, yeah, yeah.
forever
There's
student.
nothing, there's so much to learn, and this lifetime is not enough. So I will keep learning, yeah.
Um, and again, as someone who is in the first year of PhD or preparing for PhD, it is difficult for us to know that the kind of fellowship you got that got you all attention, fame, and all these things. But can you simplify us what the fellowship is all about?
So
Okay.
fellowships will generally come towards end of your PhDs, where I think for first years you would focus more on your PhD project. Postdoctoral fellowships or anything after PhD you will start thinking about in your fourth or fifth year. So I got this Roland fellowship. So Roland lets you set up your own lab, ask your own question, do your own experiments. You're not working under any PI, so it's entirely up to you. The responsibility of running the lab and doing your science is entirely up to you. But which science you want to do is also entirely up to you. It's your call which science, which field you like, you would choose that. And if you really, why if let's say somebody in academia who knows they want to be in academia longer, by end of your PhD you would have some inclination towards some particular field, some questions you like more than other, and Roland just lets you follow that thread for next 5 years with very good amount of funding and time.
But do you think you have inculcated some sorts of characteristics throughout your PhD that helped you pursue postdoc or apply for stuff like this? Like when I am thinking if I am in my first year of PhD, and what all characteristics I need to inculcate throughout my process such that I can be a good researcher or go ahead in academia in general.
Yeah, so I am a person who thinks about staying in academia, and my approach to doing science is also like that. So, for somebody who is beginning their research journey, what I would suggest the most is science is looking at something and making an observation or inference, right? So, when you look at your data, you look at something, you should be always curious. What does it show? You should let your data tell you stuff and never try to force your point or hypothesis on it. You just look at your data. I have worked mostly with image based data, so I look at one image, and I just sit with it for as long as I want, and to get all the information that I can get from out of, let's say, 100 pieces of information, some would already be known, and you'll be like, yeah, this I have replicated what people already know, and there might be some, let's say, 15, 20 new information, and you have to process how does it fit into the existing knowledge, how does it fit into the existing science, like does it explain something better, or does it help understand something better. So yeah, so just let your data guide you. You should start with some hypothesis that this is what you might expect when you're designing your experiment. You might have some idea that these could be, expected outcomes, but just be open about your data, like look at it, get all the information you
Yeah.
can get, and try to see if it matches with your hypothesis
Yes
or
or
not.
not, yeah. So, in this regard, can you just say a few thoughts about your PhD early days and all those PhD days and your work?
I think I had a very good start, good middle, and good finish also. So during my in TIFR lets you do couple of rotations so that you
Okay,
can
yeah.
work with different labs, different PI, and see where you fit better, where your scientific curiosities have met better. So I was working in Tamal's lab during my rotation, one of the rotation, and I found some like I made an observation which was little surprising. So my work during my PhD, it was about looking at how Golgi decides cell migration. How what is the role of Golgi in cell migration? And this was more of serendipitous because I was training for E-cadherin
Yeah.
in cell migration,
Okay.
and E-cadherin has this recyclability, right? It comes from junction back to, and this during this recycling it comes back to Golgi. So you see a lot of signaling Golgi also. So it's a kind of an indirect inference that okay, Golgi is here in this cell. And when I looked at that cell migration, we use MDCK cells, maybe
Okay.
your audience would know.
Yeah.
So in that entire monolayer, the E-cadherin signal, which was a indirect way of identifying Golgi, was oriented in multiple directions. So whatever literature suggests, you would always expect Golgi towards the direction of migration, but I saw like it's all over, like lot of
It's
variety
throughout, spread throughout the
spread
cell.
throughout in a different way. Like in different cells, it can be
The way you
oriented.
said that E-cadherin gets into Golgi like endocytosis, what we have studied
Either new
earlier.
synthesis of the E-cadherin or recycled E-cadherin, yeah.
Yeah, like the transport which we study throughout the vesicle mediated
Yeah,
transport
yeah.
to the Golgi does that, because that's same for all protein, right?
Yeah. So, but for E-cadherin, I had not studied for all the protein. I was
Most of
looking at E-cadherin
E-cadherin.
during cell migration, cell junction, how it changes.
You're studying about E-cadherin, is it because you are focusing more on
I
epithelial
was
cells?
no. So during rotation, you're supposed to learn different techniques, right? So ICC was one of the technique
Technique you learn.
immunocytochemistry.
Yeah.
So I was given a random choice to see what you want to see in your sample. So I was like, yeah, let's look at cell junction. So I was expecting E-cadherin to be only at the cell junction, but the cell signal was also there inside the cell and looked like Golgi. So and Golgi was oriented differently in different cells. So then I went back and then I looked at does Golgi orient always towards the direction of migration, and then I found out that there is not much known.
No.
So people have only seen in two specific conditions: in a standing epithelium, where Golgi is towards the apical side, and in migrating epithelium, and only at very few cells at the edge. So in those cells, it's always polarized, but in a monolayer where bigger chunk of the cells are, it's not nothing was known.
Okay.
So then I went to Tamal and that this is what is happening, and then he was also interested in looking at intracellular dynamics during migration, and then we were like, yeah, let's do this. And then we decided. Then I was very sure that I want to do my PhD with Tamal, and I joined. And then I started following that thread and.
But is it you came to TIFR thinking doing cell biology, or you had some other interest? Because
I wanted to do immunology.
okay, while you came here.
Yeah, but because during my BSc, MSc, I think I was fascinated with all the coursework, cell biology, molecular biology, but immunology was my back then favorite.
Was
But
QB also your favorite? Like some of the book, immunology book, which we like.
oh
kind of-
yeah. I've forgotten the name also.
Like we remember, we have recently qualified CSIR, so we remember.
I don't remember now. But yeah, so I thought I would like to do immunology, but during rotation, I realized I find my interest somewhere else better. So I went with my instinct that this is what I like and this is the dynamics I like with my guide. So I was like, yeah, let's do this.
Like in TIFR and some institute, we have our rotation, so it's easier for us to know that okay, I love this, I don't love this. But what about if you can give some advice regarding the students who don't have these options, like we have before joining an institute only, you have to apply under some kind of PI. So in that regards, how can we decide what we find fascinating? Like you, if you can.
I guess that's a very important question. Places where you don't get to do lab rotations to decide your lab and you just have to join based on some project. Many of these places actually put up these are the projects they are hiring PhD students for. So if you have already some like you feel connected with some of those projects, maybe yeah.
By reading
Yeah,
more
like
about it.
let's say you have during your BSc MSc you found something interesting, and while some of the labs have open projects on that topic, yeah, I mean, yeah, go ahead with that. I guess I would go with like whatever you like before that during your coursework, let's say BSc MSc, and if there are any open projects on that topic, just go with your interest even at that point.
And in this regard, can I ask you something about your BSc and MSc experience? in research? Like,
I did not have much research experience in BSc. It was coursework, typical coursework and practical. But
your
after
master's
12,
dissertation is something that.
yeah, during MSc I had two. One for my dissertation thesis, MSc thesis dissertation. I worked in a virology lab, and that, although the work as such was not very elaborate, but I liked the topic because we were looking at polymorphism in some viruses that infects buffaloes,
Okay.
and we were trying to see if in particular part of India, like which virus is more prominent, or even it was affecting even in vaccinated cattle. So we were wondering why these vaccinated cattle are getting affected, and then we realized that the virus has some polymorphism that allows it to infect vaccinated cattle also.
Also,
So yeah,
okay.
that was mostly molecular work, and I also did one summer training in CCMB Hyderabad. That was about cloning a vector. So that was purely molecular biology, and at that point, just doing cloning also was fascinating
Meeting
to
for,
me.
yeah.
The work I did during my PhD versus all this tiny research experience were different, but how you approach those situations are kind of similar. There also I wanted to just learn and see, okay, I'm putting a foreign piece of DNA in this vector. Is it going to work? Is it going to express in the whole system or not? So that was the curiosity there, and same that curiosity stays for
Yeah,
any
like
research
you
project.
had very diverse kind of experience
Yeah, yeah.
throughout, but curiosity is the only thing
Yeah, that
that
is the
stayed
only
throughout.
common factor. Like
Yeah.
it's always been curiosity driven. What next?
So
What
now
happens?
also you are working in some other kind of field in ecology
Yeah.
a bit.
So, uh, although my training and everything is in cell biology and mechanobiology, and I'm going to continue using that whatever I have been trained in, and those kind of field. But I recently, one of our faculty, Anusha Shankar, she's an ecologist and she works on thermoregulation in hummingbirds and sunbirds. So with she started this kind of nature work where you go into little
Yeah.
bushy or jungly area and see what kind of diverse life you can find. You can find some insect, ants, some caterpillars, some different plant leaves. And then if you, I don't know about other people, but those kind of diversity we used to read in school
School
textbook.
textbooks.
But immediately after that diversity there was this chapter of nomenclature and classification, and so whatever excitement was there with classification stuff was just vanished.
Yeah.
And then with this kind of nature works, like I went back to that time again where I was excited about everything I see, everything natural I see around me. So I was like, I mean, I have
You're
the
no more
time right now.
restricted. Yeah, and
Yeah.
you're no more restricted. Like, this
Yeah.
is not my niche. I
And
can
yeah,
explore
yeah,
anything.
exactly. So now since I know I have my fellowship and I can do my own work and I also have some free time, I kind of the liberty to explore all my curiosity in any way possible. So I started talking with her, and in fact I will collaborate with her on some aspects. So yeah, so again, I'm curious about the mechanobiology I'm going to do in my research proposal in Roland. I'm also curious about all the ecological stuff, and I'm right now I'm going to explore which of these curiosity I can actually pursue in lab, and which I can continue
Pursue
outside
outside
lab.
the lab. Yeah. What other things that helped you survive PhD other than science?
Phrase is used very frequently, surviving a
But you
PhD.
love PhD, so it's not surviving. It's
Yeah,
just a journey for
so
you.
I think I would be a bummer there. I don't think I would call my PhD, a surviving process. For me, it was a learning process. I have learned a lot, and not just science. And I think that is what my strategy, or my whatever period I enjoyed in my PhD. It's because I kept learning, not just in lab. So I started playing volleyball and badminton here, and I did not know those games, but I actually learned that. So people used to play, I used to play with them, and then go back and watch YouTube videos how people play. So I still was learning, but maybe not science in lab, something outside in lab. So the satisfaction of finding something new, it should
New.
not only be limited to your workbench. It can come from anywhere, and I think I would always encourage people to find something outside lab that they are happy to learn or excited to learn about.
So it's good that you have incorporated this as a lifestyle of yours. If we have our intentions correct, then it is easy. Then the PhD won't be suffering. It would be just a learning process, right? So yeah, that's a nice thing that you said. So finally, I would request you to say a few things about the Roland institute and how you are planning to start your research over there, and how the fellowship is all about. And you are going to recruit students right now.
Yeah.
You are going to be
But
a PI.
maybe
and
not your audience because they are mostly early career researchers, new joining PhDs. Yeah. So Roland Fellowship is, I think there are couple of more similar fellowships in US, where they actually encourage people who have just completed their PhD, and those people who feel like they're confident and they want to get into academia mm, get into academia and they want to pursue there and they are ready with an idea. It's like they're looking for energetic people who just need a push, let's say, in different ways, like financially you're getting funds a lot and in a good space. So this
if you don't
institute.
mind, can you please share the exact fund? and
Oh, the fund is on the website, but I think it's yearly 225,000, I think, dollars per year.
Okay, and
I don't
it will
remember
include
the
all your
number.
lab. Like if you want to go and set up a lab of your own, you're going to buy all the instruments, or institute is going to provide you some
So
instruments.
in this fellowship, they have three categories of funds. One is to set up your lab, so bulk fund, like big instruments you need, like the seed money. So that is separate. One is consumables, yearly consumables that you
Okay,
will
yeah.
need, and the other is fellowships for your postdocs that you will hire, or
Oh, okay.
JRFs you can hire. Yeah. So those three categories are separate, and the seed money is varies from researcher to researcher based on what they need. I'm a biologist, so I will need microscope, incubator, and all those. Physicists might need some other things, so that can vary. But this uh, hiring
Consumables and
people and
hiring
consumables are more or less
is
similar.
similar. And you are now a faculty over there, if you say. So you
Yeah,
get
yeah,
your own salary from
yeah, yeah,
institute.
yeah.
So and it is not something you'll be taking from there.
No,
Yeah.
no, no.
It's a different kind of stuff. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
now you're kind of a pro. And what is the difference between group leader and the position you are going to be in? Like it's a bit confusing.
I don't have a postdoc.
Oh, okay.
So most of the group leaders you see, either they are towards the end of the postdoc or have completed their postdoc. They have extra, let's say, few years of experience.
Okay.
But in Roland, you just have PhD and then you start your own team.
So it's so interesting. Now, like people say that you need to have a postdoc to be a researcher or be a PI or something like that. But in
Yeah.
this, you can start your own lab within just after completing your PhD.
It is a little conventional to go through postdocs, like let's say, which has its own benefits actually. Let's say during your PhD you did certain kind of work, and maybe towards end you are questioning, do you like this or do you want to switch fields?
Okay.
So that way, then if you're switching fields, you might need extra training in that field, right? So it's
Yes.
better to go for a postdoc
postdoc.
where you can learn more, and maybe after your PhD you still feel you need more training in this particular area, then also that helps with. But if you feel like you're ready, you know what you really know what you want to do science wise, and maybe you feel like you can manage on your own, then I think Roland is a good place to start.
Okay, if something new you are planning to start, it's better to have some sorts of skills for that. Some postdoc experience can help. Yes.
Yeah.
Like, okay, in this regard, I am getting some questions in my mind about HFSP. You also got this fellowship that you eventually declined. So HFSP is something that is it asks you to do something different from the work you did in your PhD.
Yeah.
So is Roland also something like that, or it doesn't focus
They don't
much?
ask for that it has to be something very different from your PhD. In Roland, they ask that you have a good idea and you should have thought about this idea for next 5 years. Let's say you start with a question, you should be able to think and plan, like in next 5 years how this question can evolve, and plan accordingly what kind of instruments you might need, what kind of people you might need to hire. So that thought process should be there with one good idea. It doesn't matter if it is related to your PhD or not.
Or not.
For
Okay.
HFSP, they do encourage more risky science, you preferably different from your PhD.
PhD.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So for this, we have come to the end of our kind of interview. This is my first interview. I don't know how you guys like this
I'm
or
a
not.
first.
A first person, yeah. So okay, I have something for you. Okay, I think that there is the next. Okay, I forgot it. Is there only? Okay, yeah. So finally, you please brief and give some few tips to my audience and who are preparing and kind of thinking it to be a struggle, but like you said, now can you brief the whole thing for my audience, that how can they be a good researcher, and if they aim to be a researcher, then it is easier for them to qualify entrance, because it will keep them motivated to prepare, because just qualifying the entrance is not the aim, sustaining and the PhD is also there.
So I think you might get different advice from different
Yeah.
people, but for who I am, I think I would always suggest people to go with your curiosity, go with your interest. One practical advice I can give is when I applied for this role in, like that is a very, the selection procedure is very tough. So like
Yes, definitely.
out of the world they select few applications and then 10 people go for interview and then one to three people they hire finally. So those odds are pretty less, so those less odds can scare a lot of people, but I was like ki, fine, it may be very unachievable, but let's just try. You, if you think your idea is good, just submit it and we'll see what happens. Like that barrier one needs to cross. Like you should have self criticism enough to improve, but you should not have self doubt enough to hold you back from
Yeah.
trying stuff. Like be scared, be afraid, maybe you won't get, but don't accept that you are not meant for it. I did not. I knew that my idea is good. Maybe I won't get this fellowship, but I will do good science somewhere. So realize your own potential and don't keep trying for stuff. Even if it feels like it's unachievable, it might just work. You don't know that. So apply, try, keep trying.
Okay. Thank you so much, Purnati, for being here with me. And okay, we will have one different round of interviews. So the hamper is that time I'm going to give you that hamper. And okay, guys, I hope you like this interview, and please do like, share, and subscribe, and do comment down below if you have some other questions to address. Then I'll be trying to come up with new interview and discuss. Let's not give this name as interview. It was kind of a discussion. So okay, guys, you can like, share, and subscribe. Like I say, goodbye for now.
Like, share, and subscribe.
Okay, it was really nice, cute of you. Thank you.